Welcome back to another episode of my Tulane Green Wave Dynasty here on College Football 25. Where in this one, we're going to be doing our regular season recap here for year 4. We are coming off of our second conference championship win. This one over UAB by 3 points. Did just enough to get the job done here in this one. Was a solid day for Celeste Chin. Good day on the ground between Browning, Finnerty, and Eberly. Each had some contributions, but a nice day there from Browning. Trey Bueno, of course, dominated. Kypreen had big catches. Did just enough. Got to the quarterback just enough. Did just enough in the pass deflection. Just enough. Did just enough to get the job done here. Against a really good UAB team, Francis was really good. A couple of really big plays. They had success running the football. It just wasn't enough. Had several guys. Essentially, they used their passing game as an extension of the run game with some varying degrees of success. We were able to come out on top. Third quarter being the one that was obviously the big difference there. Is we were able to then get that field goal in the fourth quarter, and it was all she wrote. And we have won that. That has clinched our spot in the college football playoff here in year 4. So we are going to go over a lot of different things. You guys kind of know the forecast that I do with this and the expectation. I am expecting Trey Bueno to win the Heisman. Will be, I believe, the first wide receiver I've ever had win it. It's the best wide receiver season I've ever had on a college football game. So let's advance the week. Now, let's take a look. We actually dropped in the rankings again. Trey Bueno is the American Offensive Player of the Week. Oh, sorry, this is the little in-between bye week. We will take a look at conference championships. So we had Middle Tennessee State over Sam Houston for Conference USA. Had Toledo over Miami of Ohio. Look at Toledo having a good season. Texas Tech, who we beat earlier this year, do fall to TCU. TCU then clinches their spot in the playoff. Arkansas State over Marshall. Looks like a pretty good game there. Florida over Tennessee. Florida's been really good. It's been a resurgent campaign for Tennessee there as well. Boise State over Fresno State. Penn State big over Oregon in a big-time matchup there. And Clemson by 1 point over Miami in the game of the week. Wow. That's crazy. Zinga throws 3 interceptions. They still come out with a victory. Jaden Sanders threw 2 there for Miami. Neither run game was great. Found the end zone, though, for Miami. Clemson does just enough. They actually go even on the turnover battle, okay? Wow, what a game. There. And, yeah, let's advance the week. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Should get a bunch of awards. Maybe not a bunch of awards. Should definitely get awards here. Looks like we're the leader here for Keelan Garner, Illinois tight end. Got a lot of XP. Went almost up an entire level there at one time. We still fell in the rankings, though. That's crazy. Let's see what we got. Coach of the Year. Okay. It's always good to see that. Sam Bradshaw. So we got the Broyles Award. Coordinator of the Year, our offensive coordinator. Just get the ball to Trey Bueno. Christopher Vazina wins the Heisman over Trey Bueno. I am stunned. I'm stunned. Vazina had 38 touchdowns. Bueno almost had that many touchdown receptions. Cade Olson is your Defensive Player of the Year, so we have now won that every year of the Dynasty, I believe. 2 for Quincy Wiggins, 1 for Patrick Jenkins, who did win the Heisman, and now Cade Olson. Olson had a really big year, took him to a senior year to fully break out, had a good junior campaign. Trey Bueno scores 32 receiving touchdowns, over 2,000 receiving yards in the regular season plus conference championship game, and does not win the Heisman. I don't know what to say. Eric Browning was your best running back of the year. Look at that. That class last year that entered as true freshmen in year 3. Went through the growing pains with all these guys as starters. Now look at them. Eric Browning, Trey Bueno each win their position award as sophomores. Browning had a really good all-around campaign, probably at 1,500 total yards. We'll take a look at all that, though. Michael Ivory was best defensive back. I think it's very, very well-deserved. Thought he had a really good senior year. Kate Olson, Lombardi Award winner. And we will be taking on Michigan, who, of course, we played in the finale of my Georgia Bulldogs dynasty. We'll get a chance to take them on in the playoffs as we don't get one of the top 4 seeds. So we have to go the full throttle gauntlet here to see if we can make it to the playoffs. We'll start off with – let's start off taking a look at these recruits. So obviously the guy that I was most excited for, Sergio Fields, 5-star, top 5 player in the class. Scouting, he has impact development. He should be really good from the moment he steps on campus against Celeste Chin. Hopefully Celeste Chin really progresses this offseason. He goes to the draft after a junior year. Then we can play Sergio there in year 6, which might be the finale of the series. Haven't officially decided that yet. Doucette has impact development. We did miss Pape here, who did end up getting impact. We don't know what Agbagu is going to have. Not really that interested in bringing him in. Doucette was definitely the guy we were looking for there. Burns gets impact development. Coffee impact. Craig impact. So nice to get those out of those 3 lower-end guards. Impact from Prochet. Reynoso is impact. Get star from Stanley Jovanovich. Okay, that's really great to see. Russo impact, not really getting a whole lot of that upper end star here out of Rudy Bargava. Again, middle linebacker, definitely expecting to play here pretty soon. Isaac Hops here has elite development, 91 speed, 76 man, 68 zone. Definitely has some development he needs to do, but there's definitely a really solid baseline there. Caleb Emerson, star development, so that's good. This cornerback room definitely is a spot that's going to have a lot of change here coming up. And we do get impact development here from Frederick Doss. Okay. And then Tevin Luter's got normal development, so he's probably just going to be just a guy. Really was hoping Fields would have a little bit better development than that, but I think he's going to be a really good. I think he's going to be somewhere in that 80 overall range from the moment he steps on campus, which is great. Let's take a look. I am just shocked. I'm telling you, I am shocked that Bueno did not win the Heisman. I'm shocked. This is your top 5. Bueno is the only non-quarterback up here. Of course, the rest of these quarterbacks are pretty much a who's who out of their recruiting classes. Or Sellers out of South Carolina ends up at Tennessee. After transferring there, obviously had a great campaign. Malachi Nelson, former top recruit, went to USC, then transferred to Boise State. Had a big year. DJ Lagway, of course, great. And Vizina there out of Clemson. Take a look at the award winners. Of course, the All-Americans are a little awkward, but we'll take a look at that as well. Vizina does edge out Bueno for Player of the Year. We'll see what his rushing stats were. But just on the hoof, just of his passing stats, Trey Bueno should have absolutely won that. Browning does make the top 12. Of course, we won the Coach of the Year. Celeste Chin did not find his way. Just throw too many interceptions is all it is. That's the only thing keeping Celeste Chin out of this spot. Olsen, Ashley Williams, and Raphael Cantu. Cantu had a really good stretch in the middle part of the season. So good to see him end up there at the top. But we are just owning this Best Defensive Player of the Year awards. Ivory's the only guy beating out 3 guys from Clemson. That's crazy to see. Maxwell Jordan makes his way into the top 12 for that as well. Browning, of course, wins running back of the year. We have nobody else on the list. Bueno should have easily won best receiver. I would imagine he did triple, maybe not receptions, but obviously he's going to dust everybody else in yards and touchdowns. There's Olsen and Williams there for Lombardi. Don't have a guy for that. Same 2 guys there for best defensive end. Nobody for interior lineman. Nobody for tight end. Top 2 Broyles Award guys. Nobody for linebacker of the year. Kind of surprising Kilgo or Kumar didn't make it on that. Groza, nobody for a couple of these now. Okay. Okay. There's your awards. We will now take a look at All-Americans. So Browning and Bueno each make the first team All-American list, as they should have. So that's at least, so this might be something that's been slightly updated. The defensive players look like kind of the best players in the country, though, at their positions. Yeah. Macy Williams had a good year there, too, it looks like. Lamar Sperling, shout out Mr. Hurricane, making the list there. Very, very talented running back. Second team, do we have anybody? And again, for somebody in particular you're kind of looking for, just pause and take a look. Nobody else there. Freshman of the year. Nobody there. So we go to the American. Francis is your first team quarterback. He was really good. So I mean, he's got 3 other first team all conference guys here, and Shanks, Hooks, and Jowers. Ashley Williams, Elijah Kilgo make the first team stats. Cade Olson hasn't made any of these lists, and he was defensive player of the year. Gabe Fortson, Cantu makes it. Trayvon Palmer, who didn't play really at all. Campanero, Avery Aikman, Martin Cola, George Fuller, Robert Lucien, Marquise Bickley, Eric Caver. Okay. I just really don't I hate that the All-Americans are not a better list than that. I do. So for us, as far as our stats here, through the regular season, Celestia Chin, I guess we'll start off with this. We'll go ahead and take a look. We broke a bunch of records this year, including, for a single season, Trey Bueno, most receiving yards in the history of college football this year. Most touchdown catches single season in the history of college football this year. And he does not win the Heisman. Speaking of which, forget how crazy Jackson Arnold's year 2 was. 67 touchdown passes, just insanity. But as we just look, at the American Conference here, Ty Thompson's passing yard still stands out there. But Bueno got that. Francis right now is holding on to that lead for single season, something Celestia Chin could maybe break if things work out that way. We're 1 sack from Olsen away from breaking Quincy Wiggins's conference record, which is then therefore going to be the same for the school as well. We'll take a look at the school, though. Ty Thompson, again, has the record there. Rushing yards, Browning is not close to that. Elikai Manor Bueno is very if we have a deep playoff run, he could break that, but he's really more of a big play guy. 85 receptions to get to this amount of yards. Passing touchdowns, Celestia Chin has already hit that mark. Of course, the passing touchdowns, or receiving touchdowns, excuse me. And Quincy Wiggins still holding on to that sack record. So, season stats. Celestia Chin, really big improvement overall from this offense from year 3 to year 4. And he was a really big part of it. Again, a lot of this goes to what we were able to do with Trey Bueno. But yards per game is up, the completion percentage is up, touchdowns are up, and interceptions are way down. Now, does not mean that he's been great at avoiding the interceptions. Did go clean against UAB, had stretches of the season. He was really good in this aspect. Also kind of had interceptions come in bunches at times. But really, really improved from year 1 to year 2. I think he's a guy that is very likely to be a 3 and out. I really think that with his caps and stuff, we are going to see a nice boost from him this offseason, get that IQ up a little more. Really, that's going to be about it, I guess, unless something else really comes up. But I really am hoping he ends up being a 3 and out guy because of the development he's gotten from year 1 to year 2. I hope he takes that next step enough to be a year 3 and out guy. That way we can potentially play Sergio Fields for the duration of the rest of the dynasty. Eric Browning, it was a really up and down year from a purely rushing perspective for us. Browning had a lot of big plays in the early portion of this season. So a 42-yarder and a 72-yarder in each of those first 2 games. And I really thought we had turned the corner as a rushing attack. You see the rest of the year, just 1 20-plus yard run, and it came against UAB. A lot of this 2.7, 2.4, 3.2, 3.7. 3.2 even against Tulsa here, but in these last 2 games, I feel like we've kind of gotten back into a rhythm here. 3 of his last 4 games, again, including 2 against UAB, the best team we have played this year, at least in the conference, he's gotten over that 5-yard mark. That's kind of the telltale sign. And, of course, he does phenomenal work in the receiving game, but we'll get to that. Finnerty really fell apart here as a sophomore. Never got going, really and truly. Eberle here was definitely the more effective guy on about half the carries. Had more broken tackles than Finnerty. Finnerty just didn't really get going at all. Celestia Chin, obviously, with the sacks, is not going to be great here. Do feel like he's a pretty good rusher, though, and we can add that element. Definitely did a little bit more of that late in the year. Trey BUENO, of course, dominated everything here for us. Eric Browning, the second leading receiver out of the backfield. Got to get him out of this yards stat there. 4 touchdowns for him. Preen was good on third downs, really about it. Campanera had his moments. His 1 touchdown was an insane grab. Myrtle has a lot of catches. Campanera was definitely the big play tight end, though. Nicholas, I think, was involved a pretty decent little bit. And Mohammed there as well started to get a little bit more look towards the end of the year. But obviously, this passing game flooded through BUENO. And then it was largely to Browning and then Preen operating as the clear number 2 actual receiver. It's the way that it rolled this year. BUENO, with his speed and athleticism in this conference, is just the ultimate game breaker. Still don't really have a great overall feeling with how we move the ball with this offense if it's not going to these 2 guys. But we're trying to work to add a little bit more depth at this wide receiver position. Tavares Peppers heading into next year. Somebody I am very excited for. Hopefully he takes that next step. I think he's going to be very, very good for us next year, and he does come with really good speed and athleticism to operate as that number 2 beside BUENO. Blocking, we had a bunch of holds again, but I think for the most part, the offensive line was good in the passing game. Not great, though, in the run game. Still trying to work on improving that. Ivory, of course, had a great season. I want to say this is Elijah Kilgo's 3rd year over 100 tackles. Nope, he did not get it there in 2026. Okay. So he's got 2 years, 2 of his 3 years in the program, gotten over that 100 tackle mark. Would hope he gets 1 more tackle for loss, get the double digits there. Did not get an interception this year. Think he was a little bit more up and down, but obviously pretty good campaign. Maxwell Jordan is really improving. Kumar, first year of a starter, went really well. Jeremiah Jolly, again, second year as a starter, really seemed to improve. Alta Smith continues to be a really, really good player for us. Does have 4 interceptions. And, of course, is a deflection machine. Had 13 in his first year as a starter, had 4 last year, then had 11 this year, and has gotten to where he does actually pick the ball off every now and then. Lewis, another senior, really talented player. Olsen had the big year. Ashley Williams has been good. Hopefully he gets to double-digit sacks. Cantu definitely seems to be progressing. Really excited for Robert Lucien heading into next year, where he'll probably get to be a little bit more of an off-ball linebacker, play a little bit more situationally for us. Obviously a former 5-star with plenty of room to grow. Bickley is a guy that looking forward to using next year. He's going to operate very likely as cornerback 1. Briscoe will probably be a starter next year as well. As far as other guys down here, Eldrin Camp showed flashes, had a couple of really important plays actually at different points this year. George Fuller is a guy that should play a ton for us along the defensive line. Next year was kind of defensive tackle 2 behind Cantu this year. But I do think he's got pass rush upside. He could be a guy that could really utilize moving forward. From a kicker perspective, Helmke, we were accurate with him, which is at least good, and did hit a 53-yarder. Did miss an extra point. Caver, the point game kind of is what it is. It's not really my specialty. Kick returns were not good this year. We did get 1 punt return, though, from Trey BUENO. And as we take a look nationally, at least through this stretch, Celestia Chan is your current passing yards leader in the country. Francis Vizina, Nelson, and Jaden Sanders there from Miami are your top 5. What was Sanders as a recruit? Redshirt sophomore, so he's a year 1 recruit, elite development, former 4-star. Definitely seems to be progressing there. Edmonds is hurt. Okay, for Oregon, something to take a look for. The North Sellers, of course, had a great year. We'll just kind of go down here just a little bit. Obviously, I'm not going to go dig super deep in these stats. Demon Williams. Okay. Passing touchdowns. We'll kind of show everybody this guy at least 30. I think would be good. Vecina's way down here. He should not have beaten. He should not have beaten BUENO. Sam Levitt there, getting the job done. There's Sellers again. DJ Lagway. Will Hammond. And that is going to be kind of closing out the list here of guys with the 30 touchdown passes. Rushing. 4 1,000-yard rusher. So Browning ends up 6th in that stat, at least through the regular season, which is really kind of the main story to tell there anyway. So obviously not a ton of high-impact rushing yards, just kind of the way the game sims, which at least makes me feel a little bit better about our run game in general. And really nobody with over 11 touchdowns. DeAndre Jowers there from UAB is actually tied with Jamarion Wilcox and Tevin Daniels and Jamal Clemens. For that number, Browning is tied for second. It's kind of the list. We'll do everybody that's got at least 8. Receiving, BUENO from a reception perspective is second in the country in receptions behind Bryant Wesco of Clemson, but is easily pacing everybody in yards. We'll take a look down the list of guys with 1,000 yards. It's a big catch guy there in Quasi Gilmer. Okay. So Kobe White really developed there for Georgia. He ended up being somebody I just cut after year 1 because he had a super low overall. He developed a lot for them, though, here in this series. Okay. Nice to see that. Terrell Anderson, Jelani Watkins, Ryan Williams does get to that 1,000-yard mark here. This will be a senior year. Yeah. Okay, that's everybody with the 1,000. Receiving touchdowns will at least do everybody in double digits. But, of course, Quasi Gilmer, if it's not for Trey BUENO, had an outstanding season. But BUENO just obviously outshines everything anybody else did here this year. Let's see. Wesco again had a really nice stats. Kobe White had a really nice stat line. Don't see a whole lot of tight ends putting up big numbers here either. Okay. Definitely some recruits from this series that are definitely starting to make waves. Obviously, the further we're going along, a lot of these guys, though, are, initial players in the game. Everybody with 10 touchdown receptions, so a lot of guys did that. Obviously, defensive stats are a little bit more fickle, so we'll do the tackles like this. So we had Ivory and Kilgo right now are the 2 leaders in the country, and they are the leaders, period. Okay, so we'll do sacks. 17 from John Holt there, Georgia State. Had Brinkley there. Okay. I think Olson's going to lead the way. 18.5 there from Malik Love out of Middle Tennessee. Dylan Williams with 18.5 at Oregon. Olson there with 19. Out of Najee Green, of course, Georgia Bulldogs Dynasty legend. We actually got him to transfer and had a big year there. That's really cool to see. Just out of curiosity, Asa Newsom, for some reason he transferred from somewhere? No, he's okay. Kansas player. Maybe Kansas State guy. Maybe I've just played them so much on this game between this series and the Georgia series that kind of thought about him. Okay, so we will do interceptions. 2 guys there. 7. Looks like a bunch of guys there with 7. Anybody with more than that? There's not. And now, last but not least, we go to the college football playoff bracket to see what potential run we would have to go on to get this elusive national championship. We don't have one in this series. Let's take a look. So, we had Clemson, Penn State, Florida, and TCU as the top 4 seeds. Then it is Miami, Oregon, and then us. And then Pitt, Notre Dame, Michigan, Tennessee, Texas Tech. Of course, we played Texas Tech earlier this year and did get a victory over them at Texas Tech. So that at least makes me feel good. To be completely honest with you, even though we are the only undefeated team here, I guess left in the country, we would have to be. I don't necessarily mind us not being a top 4 team. I don't really know that we're overly deserving of it, kind of as weird as that is. Really struggled to beat some teams, struggled with Louisiana, struggled to kind of put away Southern Miss for a lot of that game. Did beat Texas Tech pretty emphatically there on the road. Nevada struggled with them, struggled a little bit with East Carolina, struggled with USF. Did beat UAB, but struggled there. We struggled against UTSA. Like, we were not overly impressive, and I do think this is a team that is very one-trick pony-ish on offense in particular. The defense is not great at stopping the runs. On offense, what would we be if we did not have Trey Bueno just being the best player on the field, the most dynamic talent on every field that he has been on? I think that heading into this playoff run, we are in desperate need of trying to find other players that can make things happen. We're going to have to get after the quarterback. We're going to have to find a way to stop runs. It's a little worrisome. I think that, facing a team in Michigan that I'm expecting to run the football a lot is something that would worry me. Playing Penn State, they're going to run the ball a lot as well. Those are not 2 really good stylistic matchups with us. And I don't know what. We'll take a look whenever we preview the games. I don't know exactly what their, defensive back group looks like. I'm not entirely sure of that. But, if they're fast and they play over the top of Bueno, what can we do offensively to make sure we're continuously moving the football? I personally think that this is a team that is still a year away. The growth of that second recruiting class with guys like Celessi Chin, with guys like Eric Browning, with guys like Trey Bueno, trying to get more development out of Campanero, trying to get more of these offensive linemen a little bit better, to me is really a more realistic outcome as maybe their year 5. Now, we're in the dance, and that's the first thing that you can really look out for. But, as I look across this roster, I see a lot of development from our defensive line. We're losing players, don't get me wrong. But, I see development. I see guys that can really progress and produce and be big-time players for us, both along the defensive line, the linebacker group is young. All these guys should be back, should be better than they were this year. You're losing some cornerbacks. I think we're filling in the gaps from a pretty decent little bit with guys like Boggs being able to progress. Briscoe, who has gotten a lot of playing time. Bickley, I think he's going to be a great cornerback 1. Jeremiah Jolly, Maxwell Jordan, both these guys will be back next year. I really personally think that this is a team that's not quite there talent-wise yet. But if the right storm hits, if Trey Bueno keeps doing what Trey Bueno does, maybe we can pull this off, which would be great, obviously, coming off of that really weird year 3. Went 11-3 in year 1, 14-1 in year 2, almost made it to the national championship then, and then did not even end up with a winning record in year 3. But yeah, we're at a spot where this team is really good. I think we're the clear class of the American Conference. We've won that title now twice. Kind of just had a really weird year 3. But we will see. This will be talented teams that we are playing, and hopefully we can make a run. But I do think we're a year early right now from really taking that next step. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for me here. If you enjoy the content, like and subscribe. Check out the Seattle Mariners franchise I've now started on MLB The Show 25. That really enjoying that game. And my Atlanta Hawks franchises, we are now heading into our year 3 offseason on that one. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time. Peace.